Les presentamos a Rosita Caro.
We'd like to introduce to you Rosita Caro. Well, good morning in some parts of the world. Good afternoon in Bogota. Thank you very much for joining us today. Once again, in this series of conferences of the Creative Brain, we want to welcome you all. And I'd like to welcome Dr. Leonard Sommer for him to introduce this panel, this final panel of the series of conferences of the Creative Brain. Thank you very much, Leonard. Please take the floor.
Thank you very much. Actually, I'm not a doctor. I'm totally honored, but need to work for that. So let me first introduce the topic of today. So let me share my screen. So share some insights actually about this. So hope you can see the screen. So let's start with the topic of today. I want to start with stairway actually to modern times actually, and a small insight actually. You know these guys probably, Henry Ford, Bill Gates, and Elon Musk. Actually, all those boys grew up in different economic ages, but all of them shared the same school system. Isn't that bizarre? So let's then, with that, just give some minutes to kids' voices about this topic. You see that? No.
How can an education system designed for the industrial age still be relevant in the 21st century? Let's take a look at some numbers. 65% of today's children will grow up to work in jobs that don't yet exist. 60% of managers see creativity as tomorrow's most important skill, but 85% believe that creativity is suppressed in schools. Come to inspire a vision of schools that foster creativity, with room for children's minds to develop outside of the box thinking, with teachers who guide creativity instead of conformity, with lessons that prepare them for the unexpected.
So let me first introduce the initiative actually that we started some years ago already. With a lot of people have been involved, and 3 of these testimonials and also experts we're going to hear later on with great insights actually. And first, some insights about the initiative itself. So the initiative Classroom Think Tank had been started already several years ago with a simple analysis. In collaboration with the Berlin School of Creative Leadership, 38 students had been asked to define A, the barriers, and B, the drivers of creativity in school. I think these topics are interesting just to set a little bit the scene and the, let's say, the sense of urgency actually that we have today. So again, to this topic actually, so after we had an initial workshop with the kids actually wanted to learn actually about these criteria that had been defined by them, what are actually the most important to them. So let me first share the criteria itself that the kids defined. So first, actually, what actually are the criteria to creativity and suppression of these in school? So let's look at the 5 criteria that scored the most initially. So the first, what they said is like, and what had been rated actually is like, not all teachers are inspiring. The second, actually, there's too much to learn and no time to teach alternative problem-solving methods. The third, actually, standardized teaching methods rarely leave scope for alternative solutions. And the fourth, creative solutions aren't rewarded with higher grades. And the last, fifth, actually, the school system primarily encourages intellectual conformity. That have been defined actually by the kids and then ranked actually as set by almost 550 individuals in different ages. So turn it around, actually become more positive. How can creative thinking be fostered? The first criteria, like train teachers to recognize alternative solutions. Second, give room for creative and divergent thinking. Third, teach to ask questions that lead to new ways of solving problems. And fourth, support individual interests and talents. And the last, fifth, follow a more constructive approach to mistakes. Well, these criteria actually inspired then in the initiative to the beginning actually of a bigger thing that we created then. Together with the Berlin School of Creative Leadership, we encouraged and enabled the active dialogue and resources to be shared between creative industries and education. And with that, actually, we switched to the project that had been born by that. So the initiative started, I think we started with that already 7 years ago. We brought together more than 100 creatives, educational futurists, and thought leaders from all over the world to envision what the future of education could look like. To answer one central question with outstanding ideas, but also concrete best practices from teachers and also from everywhere. So at the end, we decided to bring together everything in a beautiful book to make all those treasures available to everybody. And this book actually also brought me to these wonderful individuals that we're going to hear in some minutes. But let me first take 40 seconds to just show you a little bit and take some seconds to go into the book. Actually, this book brings together interesting and relevant thoughts, concepts, and inspirations on a new organizational design, the learning culture, and the role of the teacher and parents, as well as new teaching methods and an alternative assessment model. And the interesting thing is actually that on all these pages, you find inspirations to really then start and do, let's say, start the change in education in your school. And what we're going to hear in some minutes actually is indeed some inspirations that are part of this book, actually also from Pamela, will be part of the next edition. But Kristof and Patrick Newell, actually, that will be introduced by Rosa, I'm pretty sure will share then in the next minutes their thoughts on education. And Kristof is wonderfully there even in Bogota. So let me just hand over back to you, Rosa, and just set the scene for the first of these three great minds.
Thank you, Leonard. So it is es un placer para mí.
So it's a pleasure for me to introduce these three great panelists and minds that are joining us today. I will first introduce Dr. Pamela Burnard from the University of Cambridge. Pamela Burnard is one of the international leaders, experts in creativity and arts. She has coined a new term that is quite interesting, which is the creativities. And that is why she also researches on the creative spaces, intercultural creativity, interdisciplinary creativity, welfare, arts, and maths, opening therefore a huge scope for us teachers. She speaks about STEM and leadership, all understood as creative practices. The academic career of Dr. Burnard is very much intertwined with her own professional practice in music, and she has professional degrees in music, education, and philosophy. She collaborates, and she is co-editor of the international magazine Thinking, Skills, and Creativity, and she also chairs the research group of arts and creativity of the University of Cambridge. She is also the co-coordinator of the Special Interest Group on Creativity from the British Association of Educational Research. And she also participates in the British Journal of Music Education. She's also an associated editor in the Psychology of Music publication, and she's an invited author of the special issues on creativity for the A Journal of the UNESCO Observatory. Pamela, is an honor, Dr. Bernard, it's an honor to have you here with us in this panel of great minds. Dr. Kristof Fenyvesi works at the Finnish Institute for Educational Research. He's a specialized research in STEAM and in trans and multidisciplinary learning. He also has contemporary cultural studies degree at the Finnish Institute for Educational Research from the Habiskaila University in Finland as well. She's also a member of the Investigation Center in Innovative Learning Environments and as well in the research group on education assessment and learning. The Bridges organization is the largest educational communication community in the world for arts and maths, for which Dr. Kristof directs community events. He is also a member of the European Academy of Sciences and Arts, and he's also a member of the committee to increase public awareness of the mathematical European society. And he has also carried positions such as an executive director of the International Association of Symmetry, and he's an expert STEAM evaluator of the European Commission. He's also an evaluator of the workshop initiative, a STEAM or world network that has an objective to involve parents, children, and teachers in a vibrant and creative dialogue about how the mathematical and arts or artistic way of seeing the world intertwines and is related. I have the great honor of having Dr. Kristof here with us in our school, Colegio Hacienda Los Alcaparros in Colombia, and it has been quite an enriching visit for us in all aspects of life, not only in educational aspects, but also in the way he's also broadened our horizons. And lastly, I would like to introduce Patrick Newell. He is the director of the Tokyo International School. I really like his personal presentation because he believes that the purpose of his life is to act as a facilitator, whereas a channel, so that others can reach the highest levels of collective creative intelligence. And to support or back this work, he collaborates to work environments, learning models, processes, and frameworks with a future-focused thinking. In 1995, he founded the Tokyo International School to offer a new model of learning. And Dr. Newell started to focus on the specific need of a technological disruption in education, approaching each person as a scientist who needs learning environments that are much more related to laboratories to really nurture innate curiosity and the need for experimental learning as of the experience. Patrick holds a postgraduate degree in international education. He's also the co-founder of TED Tokyo. He's also a sciences, technology, and innovation teacher, and design and leadership professor from the Shisenshan University, and he's also founded EPM's APO to enrich the lives of displaced children in Japan, ensuring that these children can indeed participate of all the benefits of a society that is designed as a society of the 21st century through technology. That is composed of several organizations, included We Work Japan, Kokuyu Global, and Uyingoka High School. He's a member of the Schools and Universities Network of the New England and also Think Tank. Patrick was absolutely fundamental to guarantee that the abilities of the 21st century could be integrated into this model of education of the Tokyo schools, but also to the models of education of many other schools around the world, helping to promote very much needed changes in education. So it's an honor for us, and we want to thank you all three for participating, and of course, also with Leonard Sommer in this final panel of the Creative Brain series of conferences. So thank you very, very much. And now I'd like to give the floor to Pamela Burnard so that she can start her intervention. Thank you very much.
Hello, Pam, if you can turn on your camera and your microphone, please.
Yes, hello. Yes. Am I speaking next?
Yes,
I thought
perfect.
it was Kristof.
Thank you so much.
I thought,
Now we
Am
hear
I
you.
next?
Now you are,
Yes.
yes. Perfect, thank you so much. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here, and thank you very much for the warm welcome. I'm actually not in Cambridge at this moment. I'm in Australia, and it is 4 o'clock in the morning. So excuse the darkness outside. We've been locked out of Australia for 2 years, 3 months and 4 days. And we're finally catching up with family. Huge reunions happening here. So excuse my informality today. I've got 15 minutes or less now to share with you. Is this I'm assuming I'm presenting now, and I want to congratulate Leonard on a wonderful book. It's groundbreaking, and it brings together all of the summation of ideas and inspirations about human creativity, more than human creativity, and which introduces technology as well. So I'm going to share my screen and take you on a little tour of some ideas that I think will take us into the ways of thinking differently. And I want to know if you can see my screen. I'm going to assume you're seeing this. Can someone just speak? You can?
Looks good, Pam.
Thank you so much. You'll notice I'm introducing immediately a sort of a futuristic view of the use of technology, the centrality of technology, and the idea that in order for us to move forward in terms of the future of education, we need to be thinking of education as future making. And that's my first point, is future making. Engaging them in the future as it is now, because they are the future makers and they are the change makers. There is a rapid innovation going on in education, and research is at the center of that, releasing that research and researching the ruptures that are going on in society that children are living through, means that it's not preparing them for the future. It is future making, that education is future making, their future making. So with that in mind, I want to say that I think there's a lot of discussion around the mainstream discourses tend to feature white male individuals who have been groundbreaking across humanity as individuals, really bring together innovation through community, collectives, and group creativity. So their vision is often at the center. But I'd like to see that change and introduce not just multiple intelligences, as theory of Gardner has put forward. You know, the intelligences that he proposed showed the differentiation of human intelligence into specific modalities of intelligence, you know, really, you know, exploding the idea that there's more than one way, cognitive way, practice way, behavioral way of being intelligent, but multiple ways. And of course, you know, the one that's missing, the major one missing from this, is now artificial intelligence, which is absolutely major to our futures. My contribution, I think, today is to bring about this introduction of the multiplicity of creativities. You know, there is collaborative creativity, there's digital creativity, there's design creativity, there's as many types of creativities as there are humans on this planet. And if we consider that there is, of course, self and social cultural forms, self-social and socio-cultural forms of authorship, multiple forms of authorship that are determined and driven by temporal and, most importantly, technological mediating modalities that change how we are creative, who we're creative with, and the means that we are. And these are implicit and explicit practice principles that really have exploded our thinking in terms, like Howard Gardner in Multiple Intelligences, that we have multiple creativities that shift dramatically. There's not one uniform way of deciding and describing and being creative. So let me show you some examples. Some of these are in a recent book that actually brings, and this is also really important, unlocks research. It unlocks research with teachers who are researching their own practice, often collaboratively with people in university or researchers. You know, these collaborations, these interprofessional partnerships are so important for, you know, innovating change. And some of the creativities that have been articulated in this recent book are listed there. And if you look at that list and think about your own understanding of how, say, for example, science, you know, is authored, new innovation in science is authored, how innovations are authored in arts, in digital creativity, how in some context frugal creativity is absolutely central to the authoring of change. So let's look at some of these. This is too complicated to go through now, but it just gives you some of the categories that can be identified. It's a complex web of ideas here that will have us think differently, I think, about education, future making. Here's an example, for example, this is the way that audio designers, that is those people that work in the gaming industry and that do the music in gaming industries, how their practice, their mediating modalities and the forms of authoring are focused very differently to the way that an original band, for example, the values, the technological use, the practice principles as a band and what they stand for and how they work, even in terms of the market, in terms of whether they improvise and compose together or whether it's in the moment or over time, looking at the form of invention, how they get to that high original space where they can put together and be successful as an original band is mapped here, and it looks different to an audio designer. So let's look at an example, and of course I'm going to start with Björk, and I think most people will know Björk. She's an Icelandic singer-songwriter, but she's actually an amazing inventor because she puts her albums out there for children as an app that comprises of her original music, but allows children to be interactive with her artworks, to change them, to manipulate them, to vary them, and to get inside her thinking. She also inspires children to explore creativity through music and science. Look at her outfit. It's full of design. It's actually molecules, and she brings together science and education in a performative way. Now, here is an artist who brings music and technology together using multimedia explorations. And this is real world, real world practice that changes how children connect and interconnect with artists who are innovative. Another, this is Mira Calyx, who is a sonic artist, a digital media artist, a DJ, a composer, electronic and classical music, and an installation artist and an arts entrepreneur. She's also an activist. She wants to change the world, and she wants to do this through her practice, like all of us. And what's interesting here, and written extensively about this artist, because she really travels across the industry, the creative industry. She's not just a musician. She is a sonic artist, a digital media artist, and travels across these industries, that it's just not enough to think of what is the future career trajectory that we are engaging young people in thinking about future making educations. We need to be preparing them for much more plastic and adaptable futures. And that's where thinking of multiple creativities, multiple authorships, multiple temporal and technological pathways, usages is important to reflect the complexity of this world. And I'd like to play a little example of her work. Now listen to this video and see, and let me know if you can't see or hear it, and look for her collaborative creativity, how she speaks about audiences and music, her art and the role that audiences play in co-constructing it, how she speaks about emotional creativity, the authoring of emotions through her art, digital creativity, design creativity, and spatial. So let's stop talking and have a listen to a really amazing woman who is doing amazing work.
I'm Mira Calyx. I'm an artist, and I make music, and it sounds like this, some of it. So that was an extract from a project that's been commissioned for the city of Bath back in England, and it opens next week. It's a site-specific permanent installation that takes place in a Victorian train tunnel. It's over a mile long, and the site is being opened up to the public for commuting and leisure. It's very old, it's very cold, it's very dark and very humid, and it's an uncomfortable situation for most. And it was my job, along with my collaborators, United Visual Artists, to transform this into an alluring space. The actual work comprises of 20 light sculptures, and each has their own unique musical and visual score, and is triggered by the traveller as they walk through the tunnel. So you've just seen the video. That's how it looks in its raw state before the install. And once the music is in situ, the technology we're using, the sculptures themselves, and the environment will play a huge part in colouring that audience perception. So they won't hear that the way you've just heard it in this nice, comfy auditorium. The challenge in my work is to engage my audience emotionally, and music is an abstract art form. The rules of engagement are so subjective that despite analysis and research, they remain really enigmatic. So I go into each new work starkly aware that so much of what will be experienced is beyond my control. And what I basically do is I create with an intention, but one that is open to interpretation. I can't tell my audience how to feel. I need to coax them and guide them and hopefully draw them in by providing them with everything that I think they need. It's a dichotomy of forces at play, the artist and the audience. So this is something else I made, and this one's a bit of a mashup.
Now, I'm going to stop sharing and move to the next. This is a piece of music that she has written, and I won't have time to play it for you, but if you look at her official video, you will see it's called There Is Always a Girl with a Secret, and it is an artist's perspective from multiple lens on the future, and the future in the present. And it has something to say about temporality. And again, when it comes to this idea of multiple creativities, you know, Mirror Calyx has developed a practice of thinking that emotion is in itself a creativity. And so this is, as an academic, we have to show a couple of these models. This is, you know, a model that is showing her as an arts entrepreneur, her practices and the capitals that she has been developing through economic, professional, cultural, symbolic, social, and emotional capitals that all contribute to bringing collaborative creativity together. She was commissioned in China to develop a moving museum. So she put museums into commuter buses and had the locals experiencing a museum as they went to work and questioning, what is a museum? Where is the museum? So this collaborative creativity is essential in the co-authoring and co-construction of her work. So thinking about how do we author change? How does a transformation occur? Another transformation really is very much the idea of the curriculum lens, changing the curriculum of schools, now jumping into schools and saying, how do we make schools reflect the realities and the complexities of real world? More than reflect, how is it actually engaging with and future making for children? Some examples, I have a doctoral student and she is developing a new educational way of working with computer science for secondary students, and doing this through classical ballet. She is interested in the biometrics, the biotech, the intersection of science and art, computer science and art, and she's transforming what she's calling dirty data collected from EEG readings taken during dance into these evocative visualizations so that students can visualize and through VR and digital production, video production, what computer science is and can be in the future. This transdisciplinary creativity is a very different form of authoring. Leslie Garcia, who is a cross-disciplinary creative, and she looks at the co-autherings and the exchanges between art, science, and technology as well. But this time, she's combining natural and built organisms with sound synthesis. So we're calling this a sort of hybrid creativities, where design creativity is fused with entrepreneurial creativity, organizational creativity, and a very contemporary, innovative way of looking at cultural creativity. And this unpacking really allows us to dig deep and to name the type of creativity that we're actually looking at, so that we can put it into a different curriculum lens and to assess it as well. So I won't play her work, but you can see the kinds of materialities, the things that she's working with plants and signal transducers, making very interesting multimedia views of sound and art and science, bringing it together. We've done some of this. I've worked closely and continue to with the wonderful Kristof with a study from South Africa where students, and we saw one of these pictures in Leonard's book just before, where students were asked to show the meeting of maths and art, mathematics and art, in a math art competition. And this was at the Nelson Mandela University, and we analysed this work over about 6 months. Here is a young 16-year-old view of the meeting of art and mathematics, and you can see it inscribed in her body. The view of limitless ways of, and the engagement emotionally. You know, this young person is, her identity, her feeling about mathematics, the challenge of it, and the lived experience of these subjects come together where they're taught together. Here is a young man who is taking an inspiration from Leonardo da Vinci, who of course a polymath, who an amazing Renaissance person who really saw the meeting of many different subjects together and drew these understandings. So in this book, we see the meeting of science and art, where these creativities meet and are reconfigured in STEAM education. 33 authors in here, all researching future-making education with the application of STEAM. I commend that book to you. In the sense that schools, and I understand that you're also developing an innovative, school yourself. Kristof has been on an email saying, I've just entered, an amazing space with this beautiful school. Here is one starting in Cambridge called the Da Vinci Life Skills School, and it showcases a model for the future of education. I'd argue again, it's really future making education, and they are working with the local ecosystem, the global ecosystem, and really flipping education in terms of thinking of the human ecosystem, bringing these together. So it's not a conventional looking curriculum. It is, where teachers will say, I don't have time to make any change. Well, this school thinks very differently about how time and space is moved and is empowered by young people themselves, bringing together a different architectural way of nurturing multiple human creativities. I think schools, there are incredible innovations across the world of these kinds of new schools. So here in Taiwan, here is a study by Su-Chan Q.
Pam, we're just getting Kristof set up here to go next, just because of the limited time.
No problem. Do I have 1 minute? 1 minute?
If you could, exactly. If you could just wrap up. Thank you very much. Beautiful presentation.
Thank you for letting me know. This is a program of creativity and imagining the futures, of education in Taiwan. And if you look at this, how can problem-based creativity be assessed? How can group creativity be assessed? Is being asked in these in this research and in the practice. Here is a classroom where it addresses the curriculum, pedagogy, and assessment practices, as a unified idea. And so my final thing, by developing real-world curriculum integration and transdisciplinary teaching as platforms for teaching diverse creativities, that is using student-centered learning, problem-based learning, interprofessional teaching, digital portfolio assessment methods, we can see that teachers' professional development, professional learning communities can be transformative for 21st century future-making education. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your audience. Here are some of the references. I'm very happy to talk to anyone online or on a Skype, so just contact me and I'll talk further. But thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Pam, for this amazing introduction into this creative universe of ours, because it was really enriching. And I have a good news, Pam, that I'm already there. I'm already in the home of the multiple creativities. I could see wonderful things in Alcaparros school during my time here. And you can imagine that within these few days, I have the opportunity to work with like 300 children and many teachers from the school. So it's a really exciting few days of mine, what I can spend here. It's a great gift. I'm really thankful for Leonard Sommer for the book, what brought us here actually. And also for Rosa Cecilia Caro, who opened up her school for all these creative flow, these creative ideas, what has been represented in Pamela's talk already. And also Maria Ines Caro, Marcela Caro, and Sofia as well, who organized this great series of events here. So it's great to be in this epicenter of events during the week of creativity and innovation, what we are celebrating this year. And as you can see, I'm straight from the heart of the school, from the makerspace, and you can see many of the creations what the children made during the workshops already this short time. And you can see also some books which will be, of course, on topic in my presentation. So let me share my screen, because I would like to pay homage to the Caro family, actually, which is running this school. So there was a famous artist, Antonio Caro. Unfortunately, we lost him last year, but he was famous about living his life as a workshop and sharing his ideas all the time as part of a creative flow. And I really can feel this spirit also transformed into some educational concept in this school, in this beautiful school. So I'm really happy to say a few words, some annotations to Pamela's talk about learning, games and creativities, and you will see many connection points between these talks. So as I was kindly introduced by Rosa Caro, I'm working in the Innovative Learning Environments research group in the Finnish Institute for Educational Research. And it's very important that when we talk about environments, then it's not only the physical environment, not only the space where I'm sitting at the moment, but it's also the people who are coming into this space, and also those processes which are taking place, the social dynamics, those emotional aspects of learning, and all these technological devices, and how these are all coming together into a creative process. So this is the great challenge of today's education, what we try to approach from different angles. And you can see some of the projects which we are running, and many of these projects are also reflected in these workshops which I'm doing here. So there is one word, an acronym was already readable on the slide. It says STEAM. So what is STEAM? STEAM is the integration between science, technology, arts, engineering, and mathematics, but it's also something even more. It's connected to phenomenon-based learning, where creative communities, the learning community, is really in the center. And why the learning is important, why is it taking place? Of course, we want to have our children to be smarter than us, and we want to contribute to their well-being and to their happiness after all. So that's the whole point in learning, and that's what we try to organize also with Leonard, with Pamela, Burnard, with Patrick, and so many others all around the globe as part of this STEAMnet education network. You already seen these beautiful pages from Leonard's fantastic book. These are some pages representing the South African collaborations. You can see some more artworks. Pam already shown you many of these beautiful children works representing mathematical art connections. And there's another chapter in the book where I was very happy to contribute together with Jukka Sinnemäki, who is a creative teacher combining bodily activities, embodied learning, and he really eager to open up his space design, the classroom design for the children. So everything you can see in his spaces is really about learning by doing and active learning and embodied learning. So it's very interesting. And as Pam already described, there is strong research background for this, and also very strong communities. You can see some of the people whom we are working with in this project. And also the book, what Pam already mentioned, you can read more actually about these connections in these books. But let's come to the games. Let's come to the playful activities. These some photos which we took just yesterday, actually in this makerspace where I'm currently sitting. So these objects around me was created during these processes, what you can see now on my screen. It was a really happy process, and as you can see, children of many ages came together, and then their teachers are also joined to these workshops to learn about art and mathematics connections in this playful context. So I really find empowering and enriching this time also for myself, what I can spend here in the Alcaparros school. So just another connection. Of course, we are still experiencing COVID-19, and the awareness about the virus, of course, it's coming from many directions, the knowledge, the information, but also to make the model of the virus and to think about the chemical and biological configurations can be another angle to understand what the humanity is facing at this critical moment. And I have other kind of games with me as well. I was really happy to find out that Piet Mondriaan's, the Dutch artist, 150th anniversary is already celebrated in this school. There were many Mondriaan projects running in this school before I came. So this Mondriaan blocks creative puzzle was really a great addition to these projects, which I already found in this school. You can see these connections between the artworks and the puzzle blocks, and also you can see that how the game is played and how it opens a flow process, and how it helps the children to concentrate on the problem solving process and having the mindset which is needed to solve various problems. So this is a creation by Laszlo Mérő. The idea was coming from a mathematician and psychologist. He designed it as a game for an escape room. You can see on this slide. And here is the mathematical background of the puzzle itself. It's very interesting to see that actually this configuration is hiding like more than 250,000 different puzzles. And this is what unfolded actually in this game and in Laszlo's book. And this is what has been further developed by a very creative game designer, Imre Kökényesi, who really made this connection between Mondrian's art and also this fantastic game, and it's now really recognized, and it's received many awards, and children here in Bogota enjoyed to play it a lot. So it was a great experience to bring this here. And I have the good news that there are discussions going on that how Alcaparros School will also contribute to the curriculum development of this Mondrian blocks game, because we want to use this game in cognitive development, and cognitive aspects of learning can be developed through this game. And I could say a lot more about this topic, but we have a very short time. So I'd rather tell a few words about art and maths connections, and also how this creative ecology is nurtured, supported by these various connections. And this is a very interesting diagram from Anne Harris, that how many aspects of the dimensions, how many dimensions of creativity need to work together to have a very inspiring educational process taking place. And this is what I can actually experience every day in the Alcaparros school. Pamela already opened up her theories about multiple diverse creativities, and I can tell that there are all these creativities I saw everywhere when I walked around in this beautiful area. This is actually near to a forest in a beautiful natural environment. There are even lakes and many projects are taking place also outdoors. So this is very important to have this connection with the phenomena, with the elements. And now there is also another book which I wanted to include in this presentation, because it's very, very fresh, and it has also some connections to this school. So Alcaparros has also early childhood education, and they are very interested about the Finnish methods, and they are also mutually enriching the Finnish methods as well with the Alcaparros methods. So I thought that this book is a nice fit to hear playful learning. That's the title. And if you are familiar with the Finnish system of early childhood education, you can see that how many different aspects need to be considered in the learning process also in this age, how these competencies, skills are united in these pedagogical processes. But it's very easy to summarize this quite complex diagram. I should put play here, because there is a very strong opinion that the children should play first of all, and that should be the most eminent form of discovering the world, especially in the early ages. And this is what this book, with the leadership of Pirkko Karvonen, is a very experienced teacher trainer and also specialist in early childhood education. She called together this group of 8 of us, been working on this group, and I was really happy to contribute to the STEAM chapter of this book. And this book contains more than 100 activity and descriptions which you can use also to enrich your own schools and your own homes creative learning opportunities if you are interested in this. So there are some slides to represent this multiplicity of various creativities and the role of play in this context. So I think I need to close my talk because there was only 15 minutes for these contributions, but I'm really glad to celebrate here creativity and innovation in the Alcaparros School, and I really recommend to all of you participating in this webinar to visit Alcaparros, visit Bogota, and talk to Rosa and her colleagues about creative methods in education. You will find here everything what you just need. Thank you so much, and I'm really happy to give the word to Patrick Newell, who is the next speaker in this panel. Thank you so much.
That was absolutely wonderful, Kristof, and Pam as well. Thank you so much. Let me share my screen here. Can you see, can somebody just indicate that they can see my screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Little did I know how important 1 + 1 would be in my life. 1 + 1 to me equals 11. And a concept that I created a while ago was thinking about how can we reach the highest level of creative collective intelligence? That's nature together with humans plus technology, the convergence of those two bringing us creative collective intelligence. It's that balance of our natural world and our digital world together. Creative collective intelligence. There's an old Buddhist saying where energy flows where attention goes. Where do we put our attention? As many of us here today know, we put our attention around PISA results, academic results, around getting into colleges through college exams. But those of us here, I'm sure most of us know, that isn't really what's preparing us for life. There's so many disasters that are happening. And so in reaction to that, the world has been focusing on SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, and what we can do to shift the disasters and the climate change that we have moving forward. There's different organizations out there that are helping us create solutions like drawdown.org, solutions to the problems that we're facing around climate change and the SDGs that we have. There's a lot of discussion around social and emotional intelligence, where the academic side only makes up, that intelligence makes about 20% of our life success. So where attention goes, energy flows. The whole world will be connected to the internet by 2025. What does that mean in the balance of creative collective intelligence, giving access to those who didn't have access before? We're in a world of exponential change, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. The world is changing faster than we've ever seen it before. A lot to do with technology and the convergence of technologies with human and nature. There's a lot of trends, a lot of predictions moving forward. Can you imagine a world where AI will achieve human intelligence? We'll have globally abundant, cheap, renewable energy. The ability to sense, know anything, anytime, anywhere. AI-human collaboration will skyrocket across all professions. And connectivity will connect everyone, everything, everywhere at a very low cost. We're getting ready to enter quite a different world. CRISPR and gene therapies will minimize disease. Autonomous vehicles with flying cars will redefine human travel. High-resolution virtual reality will transform both retail and real estate shopping, on-demand production and delivery, agriculture, cellular agriculture moving into the intercities. These are just some of the many things that are predicted that are going to be happening during this decade that we're living in now. There's a lot of talk about AI. What is AI? Most people really don't understand AI. So I want to just give you just a snapshot of what AI is. AI that can sense, AI that can think, AI that can act. So if it can sense, think, and act, what does that mean for us in the creative collective intelligence balance as humans together with AI? There's 4 different stages of AI. There's assisted, automated, augmented, and autonomous. And then there's the essential 8, as they call it, the extended reality, automating trust, immersive interfaces. You can then all the different areas that align with it as well, with the core technologies. So as you can see why there's such hype about AI and the convergence together with humans. AI assessing learning. I ran a narrative with a AI analytics company about how people felt emotionally about having AI assessing learning, having maybe an online AI tutor that helps work with our children and us as adults in guiding us through our learning. Highly positive emotional response to this. China and many other countries are doing some amazing things right now, integrating AI together with learning. Blended learning environments. I imagine where after school becomes school and school becomes after school. Instead of students having to learn a lot of the subject areas, sitting there listening to a teacher, wouldn't it be amazing if they could have an AI online assisted tutor and they could go at their own pace at their own time, and school time was spent really highlighting, enhancing creative collective intelligence, bringing us together to make and create the future, as Pam shared earlier. And this concept of singularity, where human intelligence and machine intelligence have become equal. What can we do moving towards that to make sure that we stay human and we stay connected with nature? And this is where creativity has a huge role supporting us. And imagine that our neural cortex has an equal digital cortex. What's that relationship look like? If you think about how we're using smartphones and how we're using these little computers already, and the balance of that moving forward is just extraordinary. And then Pam also mentioned something about digital personal portfolios. Imagine if all that information we have in the digital world in our cloud was aggregated in a way into a portfolio. Imagine if we were measured and people looked at us by what we created, not what we remembered. And then we wanted to go to the next level school, or we wanted to find our next job, and we had this digital portfolio, in a sense, which is our digital twin that shares really who we are and what we want to do with our lives and how we can impact others. Just think about the world of work. Look at these jobs that did not exist 10 years ago. A YouTuber. If you even said the word YouTube 15 years ago, people would have looked at you like you had some kind of a strange TV. Some other jobs that have emerged. So as we can see, our role and responsibility as educators is to prepare our children for an unknown future. There are so many unknown things that are happening. So how do we, together with our children, co-create, or in the world today, becoming very popular, job crafting, creating your own job and your own job description based on your superpowers and things that you've developed and things that you have a passion for moving forward. So to prepare our children for the future and prepare us and reskill us for our future, what are the future skills? Often I ask this question, most people really don't know what the future skills are. I've been focusing on this for many years at Tokyo International School, and even wrote a book about the future skills about 4 or 5 years ago. So here's an example of the World Economic Forum top skills of 2025. And again, we're preparing our children for their future, for the adult world. So what are we doing to align with that? How is the teaching and learning that we have aligning with this? McKinsey has predicted a huge increase, not only in technological skills, but social and emotional skills and social and emotional intelligence. And this happens to be an area that I'm very focused on right now and putting my attention towards how can we nurture our children through social and emotional intelligence. And I love the emphasis on STEAM. What I really like about STEAM is it integrates, like our brain does, many different subject areas and allows us to make and create our future with the different areas of STEAM. It's a beautiful concept and really wonderful to hear about that today. A little bit more about social and emotional intelligence. CASTLE, the leading organization in social and emotional intelligence out of America. Ironically, I just got an email from them. They're looking to broaden into different countries. So if you're interested in working with one of the top organizations in the world, CASTLE is now thinking about going global, which is quite exciting news. Some other skills for 21st century skills that are curated for schools. How well do you know yourself? So often, if you want to move forward and you want to create your future, you have to understand yourself. So I've taken many different surveys. This is the multiple natures survey, but Gallup Strength Finders, there's so many different ways you can get a sense of who you are and then how you can bring together your different strengths to make and create a different world. Which of these are your strengths? Do you even know? Have you taken an assessment to become aware of who you are and how you can co-create with others? And if you're part of a team, where do you contribute? Where do other people contribute? And how can you really reach a high level of creative collective intelligence? Entrepreneur skills are really important moving forward. And as you can see, creativity is one of them. Let's just look at the most sought after profession right now in the world, data scientists. There's not enough data scientists. Look at the different skills that are required to be a data scientist. So for me, one of my favorite questions is, how do we wire the brain for change? When you think about the future, or when you make and create something, you're actually projecting into the future something that doesn't exist. And then you're taking all of your existing information, aggregating that together to create that future that's unknown. So how do you wire the brain from change? You create things, you make things. You connect with nature and you align with nature and you experience nature. Similar to the makerspace that Kristof's in. You have students make and create things. There's a solar car that the middle school students at Tokyo International School built. You make and create things by crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, having incentive competitions, future forecasting, design thinking, prototyping. Prototyping is a huge, huge thing moving forward. Don't just tell me your idea, show me your idea. And there's many types of prototyping out there as well. So again, making and creating our future. Sci-fi. So often, I was not a sci-fi fan, but I started to realize if you want to see the future, a lot of people in the sci-fi world are actually imagining the future that very often is coming true. And then there's the whole world of experiencing things through the metaverse or virtual reality and how that's really shifting the concept of creativity and what we can do, not just physically, but also in the universe through virtual reality. Being exposed to many different things helps us connect to the unconnected. I've been fortunate enough to visit over 90 countries around the world and work in 15 countries. And through all of those experiences and all the different input, I'm able to create and make and connect things that many other people aren't, because they don't have the experiences that I have had. So experiencing things, being exposed to many different things. TED education is a great example of that. So again, energy flows where attention goes. So for me, I think one of the key things moving forward is digital portfolios, because digital portfolios share who we are, what we've made, what we've created, versus what we've remembered. And there's a lot of different versions of digital portfolios out there. This is a portrait of a graduate in America. It's a program that's really growing dramatically. This is thinking about portfolios in higher education. And there's lots of different ways of creating digital portfolios out there. And so in my mind, when I think about what we need to do moving forward to be more creative, it's tying together the STEAM together with social and emotional intelligence, with the skills of being an entrepreneur, utilizing the tools of AI and assessment, and allowing us to move forward individually in a fun, entertaining way, integrated into a digital portfolio to share who we are. Thank you very much. That's it. Leonard, I think, or who's next?
Thank you, Patrick. Yes, Leonard, if you could turn on your camera.
I can't start my camera, sorry for that. Does not accept it. Anyway, I'm still so flashed of all these presentations, but I can't start my camera now. Can you see me now? Yes, so thank you very much, Pam. Thanks, Kristof, and thanks, Patrick. That was I'm still totally amazed about.
Hi, Leonard, we're not hearing you.
Doesn't work? So you can't hear me?
I can hear Leonard. I can hear him, Pam.
I can hear you.
I can too.
Okay, cool. So still amazed. So I'll just tell it again. So thanks for all these impressive insights, actually, and thanks for also contributing all these thoughts to the book, actually, and for all these interesting discussions we had. And what I think what finally now I want to share is after, because I think there's a lot to digest, is we still have one thing going, actually, and what that for this also I want to share my screen again, is that's so named Call for Creative Ideas. Actually, it's let me just share this. So can you see that? Yes, no? So I'm finally pleased to, after all these presentations, to bring back actually the main heroes on stage, actually, to so the creators of all around the world. So first of all, also their kids and the future makers, actually. So I'm finally pleased to officially invite all of you to our global call for creative ideas. So no matter if you are still in school, already teacher or principal, or do something different, that we are asking all of you to participate, actually, and to bring everything that you have, all your brain power in, and to focus not only on actually ideas around art and music, but everything to solve problems of the future also. If it's poverty, hunger, climate change, education, well-being, mental health, or anything else, let us now inspire with your ideas and solve it with your creativity and with your creative brain. Use your imagination and creativity to share your new, bold, and potentially disruptive solution, actually. The submissions are open until May 31st of 2022, so some more days left. From June 1st to the 10th, we will start a public voting of the ideas. Top voted ideas will be announced on June 14th. And finally, everyone has the option to join the Penn State University creativity study of Dr. Robert, actually, and thereby contribute to research about creativity and how we can help to promote it in the world actually. And I have one special actually from my side actually. Finally, a special add-on is that all of these ideas and that are focused on education actually. I would like to bring in the best 3 ideas that are then voted to the next edition of the book that will actually be published in September this year in German. And so please also hand in some of your ideas to bring change and transformation in the education, ideally focused on creativity. And you're going to have the chance to be part of the next book, actually. So if you want to submit a great idea, as mentioned, education, hunger, war, whatever, so anything that could solve the big problems of the future. Actually, if you're a future maker, as Pam titled it, visit globalcallforcreativeideas.com and submit your idea immediately. We would love, and even if you group, whatever, join and just bring it up here. That would be amazing. Thank you very much to everybody. And I think finally hand over to Rosas to close and wrap up.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very, very much. And as in each of these sessions, and as I'd like to thank the company of all our panelists, well, we as educators are absolutely feeling thriving and passionate and very much keen on continuing to work on what we've worked on all these past years, but from a much more broader approach, understanding that the education is not an education for the future. The future is now, and we must really tackle it from this approach. We don't really have time for Q&A, unfortunately, so I would like to warmly hug you, Leonard, because your book not only opened many paths in this school, but in other organizations in which we participate, and it has certainly opened a new mindset, at least in Bogota, I believe, of an education with a greater possibility of really having a much more creative perspective that is much committed and decided. So thank you very much, Pam Burnard, for sharing your concept about multiple creativities and for helping us open our minds about the understanding of this concept in the different scenarios. I think this is a great contribution for us who work with curriculums, who work with teachers, to be able to open this scope of ideas. I would also like to thank Kristof for his words about our school, for his kindness, and also for his very appreciative gaze on the work that we carry out here at the school. And obviously, because your workshops and your explanations about the importance of having this STEAM classroom and really working directly with children has been a pedagogical method and model that we've been carrying out in these past 2 days, and that will surely change the history of this school forever. And Patrick, well, I think you definitely landed or have definitely faced us or challenged us with the reality and perhaps with a sense of urgency, right? And of immediate needs to really be much more accountable and really take this work at hand and to really take this creative work much more seriously. So this process and work of the creative brain that started in January and is ending today is, I think, a milestone in the history of education. Doesn't matter really if creativity has been studied since a long time ago. I think the pandemic really gave us the opportunity for creativity to reaffirm itself perhaps as the main objective of education in all regions of the world. And I will just close with a very inspiring quote, perhaps a bit complex, but a bit inspiring, from a philosopher, Hannah Arendt, that states, so is human condition of the nature for a generation to be born in an old world, and therefore preparing a new generation can only mean that one is supporting this generation and is also taking to those newly arrived a new opportunity and an opportunity for a new world. So in this way, I think that the clear mandate for education has been promoting creativity. I want to send you all a warm hug from the school Colegio Hacienda los Alcaparros. This is your home. You are all invited. We open you our doors, and thank you very much for your generosity, for sharing your knowledge, your time, and your ideas. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us in this last conference of this series of conferences, The Creative Brain. Please don't forget to visit our website, www.alcaparros.edu.co, so you can register to this in the same session carried out by Dr. Balakrishna Pisupati, Eco-Innovation as a Path to Sustainable Growth. And please remember the global call for innovative ideas. Thank you very much for joining us.